Hey, it's Stu at Do Dots and Designs. I don't have to tell you that I'm in the studio, but I wanted to come in and pop on really quick and show you the next step that I started yesterday with this old wood top on this little nightstand, and I showed you how to remove the varnish and get it ready for stain, and I did all that yesterday. I want to show you the next step. So let's recap really quick. I'm gonna get on my knees because I can't see you. Yesterday I had this piece of this old wood nightstand, and my customer wanted to remove all of the varnish from the top and then restain it. So I went over the steps with that, and the first thing you do is use a product. I got my products over here and I'll show you. It's Citrus Strip. What I did was take this, I put a little bit on here, and I took a brush, just a really cheap, inexpensive disposable brush, brushed over it lightly, let it set 30 minutes, it started bubbling, and then I went back with a plastic scraper. You can get these at Lowe's or Home Depot, any hardware store usually has those, and then I scraped all of that off. Okay, after that was off, I took odorless mineral spirits with a piece of fine steel wool. I applied it to the whole surface and scrubbed it really, really well to get all the dirt and the grime and all the extra stuff off of the top of this wood piece. And then I wiped it down really good with a paper towel, and I let it dry. This morning I came back and it's dry, and I sanded the whole top off. Now let's talk about sanding for just a little bit. I hate sanding. I hate using sandpaper. I hate sanding by hand, and I don't want to do it, so I'm not going to do it. It can be done with a rotary sander. This is what I use. Look, it's all beat up and crusty and rusty. Yeah, it gets a workout from do, I promise you. It can be done by hand, even with the corners and the edges. You can take the edge of your sander, hold it, and guide it in the edges. It still can be done, guys. You don't have to sand by hand. If this is what's keeping you from refinishing your furniture, don't let it stop you. Buy you a hand sander. I prefer the rotary ones. I use a Makita. And if you want to see what I use, the products that I use for this project are in my Amazon shop, and there's a link up at the top of this video, so you can go and look at that to give you some ideas of what you might want to use. Sorry. Hard for a fat girl to be bending down and talking, so I'm not going to bend down anymore. We're going to just talk, and you're going to see my hands, which is the best part of me anyway, right? So I sanded all this down, and the next step after you sand it is you got to clean it again. I know. It's like she's like obsessed with cleaning. Not really. Okay, solution that you clean it with. I use a denatured alcohol. Yes, it says fuel. Don't drink it. I'm sure it's not good for you. I take it and I put it in a bottle, and I do a mixture of half and half. Half water, half denatured alcohol. I spray my whole piece down, and then I go back with a paper towel and I wipe it clean. The good thing about the alcohol is that it dries very quickly. I sprayed this down probably 10 minutes ago, and it's already dry. It's dry. It's dry enough now that I can go back and actually apply my stain, and that's what I'm going to be doing today, so I wanted to show you that. The stain that we chose for this piece, my customer wants a really dark stain, so what I have and what she likes is the Java gel stain. And this is a gel, guys. It's not a liquid. It's more like a jello almost, or a pudding. We'll say a pudding. Looks like chocolate pudding, right? Okay, here's the problem that I had before when I opened this up. Let me show you. I haven't opened this up in a long time. It's been setting because I use it, I don't use it all the time. It just depends on my customers. Well, it had a hard seal on it. It was so hard that I couldn't push through it because air had got underneath the lid. But let me tell you, if that happens, do not throw your can away. It's not ruined. All you have to do is punch through the goo. Hold on, let me get it up here. Can you see that? Punch through the goo, and you can pull that stuff out. Let me show you. It's like a whole piece on the top that just got air. See that? pull that off. Underneath there, it's still good. There's nothing wrong. Hey Francis, hey Janine. Hold on, let me put this in the trash because we don't want that. Now I've got a mess. So yeah, if air gets underneath some of this gel stains, it will form a seal on it, but that doesn't mean it's ruined. It just means you need to remove that crusty layer. Stir it well. Let me get my stick. Always make sure you stir your gel stain very, very well. And this is probably the easiest stain to apply. I feel like it is anyway. Okay. This is a yummy chocolate brown. It's really pretty. It's a real classic color. Okay. Now, what I like to apply it with is cheesecloth. Okay. I use these cheesecloth. You can purchase those off of Amazon as well. It's a dust-free cheesecloth. I use these when I do a lot of faux finishing, especially when I do garage doors. I use these a lot, so I have them around. Let me get all that stain off of here. Just put it back on here. My perfectly beautiful gloves are now brown. Let me tell you, be sure you wear gloves when you do gel stains because it'll stain your hands and your nails. It'll get underneath there and you won't get it off for months. I'm kidding you, months, seriously. Okay, so we've got our gel stain. I'm gonna go ahead just to put a little bit on my cloth, and then we're gonna start. I like to start at the back and just kind of rub over the whole piece. It's really quick, doesn't take long, and it doesn't take a whole lot of gel stain either. You don't have to put a lot on. And with the gel stain, if you get one coat on and it's not dark enough for you, you can let it dry and then you can come back and you can put another coat on top of that once it's dry. Because it all depends on how well it absorbs into your wood, and it depends on what type of wood that you're using. So nice. Okay. I just want to get a good coat on there. Make sure it goes all the way down to the edges so you can see. Okay. All right. Once it's on there, it's had a minute to kind of soak in. I'm going to go back with a clean cheesecloth and I'm going to wipe over the whole top of it. Let's make sure. Let me look at this. Make sure it goes all the way down. Okay. Let's get a clean piece of cheesecloth. You could also use some old cotton t-shirts, some old rags. You don't have to use cheesecloth if you don't have it. That's just kind of what I have. And then you're going to go back over it and you're going to wipe off all the excess. And that's when you're going to really start seeing the wood grain come through. It's really pretty. And I can tell you now, I'm going to need 2 coats on this one because my client wants it a bit darker. But that is really a pretty color on this piece. Changes it so quick. And there is some imperfections in the wood up here. If you see some little dark spots, that's some little indentations in the wood. And I hesitate to go back in and put a wood putty, a filler in there, because those pieces are going to get darker anyway if you put stain over them. So I'm going to leave it as is, and I'm going to call it character because we're going to go over this and seal it once it's dried with a polyurethane to make it super hard and durable, and it'll fill in those holes and it'll look fine. All right, so I'm gonna let this dry probably overnight, or maybe later this afternoon. I'll come back out and check it, and if it's dry to the touch, then I'll go ahead and put a second coat on it and make it a little darker because she did want it a little darker than this. But I think that's beautiful. It's gonna look really pretty with a lighter base underneath. Just a real classic, clean look. Nothing fancy. I don't want anything fancy on this one, guys. I don't always do crazy finishes on everything. A lot of my customers, can't tolerate my craziness. They're like, can you just do plain? Can you do plain? I was like, yeah, I can do plain. So this is just a really nice way to finish out a piece of furniture. This actually belonged to her mother, and her mother had passed away, and she wanted to update her furniture so that she could continue having a piece of her mom in her home, and I totally get that. I do that too. So we're gonna let this dry. I'll come back tomorrow with a polyurethane after I get a second coat and let it dry. We'll seal it, and then the base of this little nightstand is ready to go. It's ready to paint, and we're gonna be using probably a General Finishes milk paint on this as well, and I think it'll be very pretty. So any questions about staining or stripping? Because this is all I got. Like I said, this is nothing fancy. Take it down, I can see you. It's nothing fancy. It's just a matter of doing it, and it's not hard. Don't be scared to strip your wood furniture and restain it, because it's not hard at all. So I'm gonna go let this dry, and I may come back when I get ready to paint the base, and I'll show you that. So y'all have a good evening. Thanks for joining.